Hello and welcome. Today we're going to look at how to use the on event begin overlap in order to open a door. So with that being said, let's get started. Firstly, you can see that we already have some assets imported into the engine here. Have a door frame, some textures, and a material. These are assets that will be available to you in the description. So if you want to download them and follow along with the tutorial, please feel free to do so. Now let's start by creating our blueprint. We're going to right click. I'm going to choose a blueprint class. And from here, we want to choose an actor, as an actor is something that we can place into the world and interact with. Because BP underscore door, we're going to open this up. And inside here, we want to click and drag our models. So I'm going to click and drag this in here. And we have our door and our door frame. Now we can see right now that this is a very large model. So we're going to scale this down to about 0.4. Like this, and then we want to move the door generally into the location that we want it to be. So let's get a little closer so we can see. And this looks to be pretty good, something like this. Now notice something, the pivot point for the door is in the location in which we want it to rotate around. So if you're using this model, you can follow along, but if you're going to be using your own custom model, then make sure that when you save your model, the pivot point is in the location in which you want it to rotate around. The next thing we need to do is we need to select the door, and we need to make sure that it is set to movable. So if you import a model, sometimes it might be set to static. You need to make sure it's set to movable. This means that it can be moved in our blueprint. And the next thing we do is we need to set up a trigger box. So a trigger box is an area in which where the player enters, then we can trigger some event. In order to do that, we're going to choose add, and we're going to type in box. We choose box collision, and whenever the player enters into this, we can trigger our event. Now this is a little small, so let's increase the size. So whenever the player enters into this area, we want to execute some event. Now if we were to simply click and drag this into our scene like this, and we tested this with our player, you can see we can walk up to the door, but nothing really happens. So let's work on the logic. Let's open up the blueprint. And the first thing we want to do is we want to select the box. So this is the collision box right here. And if we go all the way down to the bottom, we can see that there's an event here called on component begin overlap. If we click this, it's going to create a new node for us. Again, because this is an event, it is red. It has no values to the left, it has no input, and it only has an output. Now, what do we want to do? We want to say that whenever the player enters into the box, we want to execute some events. So the way we can do that is we can click and drag off from the execution pin, and we're going to type in cast to BP underscore third person character. So we want to find the third person character here, this one right here, and we want to take the object and put it into the actor. So this just says that what is the other actor? The other actor is the player. Now, when the player enters into the area, what do we want to do? We want to get the door, and we want to set rotation. We want to choose this set relative rotation. And if we were to simply put this in like so, and then set this value to be, let's say, -90, and then we were to play the game, what should happen is when we run up to the door, then the door should snap to a 90-degree angle. That's not really what we want. We want it to slowly transition. So the way that we can do that is we can do that using a timeline. So from here, we're going to click and drag. I'm going to type in timeline. I'm going to add a timeline. I'm going to call this open door. And there's a bit of overlap here, so let's fix that. And then we can double click inside of the timeline, and we want to add a track. So we click the plus track icon here. We want to add a float track. And here we can set the length. Now, length here is referring to how long it will take for the door to open. And we want this to be about a second, I guess. Should be pretty good. I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose add point. I'm going to add 2 points. So one is for the starting point, one is from the end or the end point. So the starting point is obviously going to be 0, 0, meaning that it's going to be at time 0 and has a value of 0. And the second one is going to be time 1 with a value of 1. This, as you can see, has given us a linear value. Now, if we go back to the event graph, and if we were to take the pins here, the input pins, and right click and split them, if I was to plug this in directly, we'll see that it doesn't actually work the way you expect it to. So if I press play, you see that now when we walk up to the door, it doesn't open. Before it stopped open, but now it doesn't. And the reason is that we didn't set it to interpolate between one value and another. So we want it to go from 0 degrees to 90 degrees. The way we can do that is we can set up two variables. So let's create a variable one. We're going to call this closed door. And let's set this to be a float. And let's create a new variable. Call this open door, I guess. Open doors is fine. And once we've done that, we can click and drag this in here. I choose get. I'm going to click and drag this one in here. We're going to get this value, and we want to set the default value for the open door to be the 90 degrees. So let's set this to be 90 degrees, like so. And what we want to do is we want to take the first value, and we want to go from value A to value B. The way that we can do that is using a lerp. So let's choose lerp. So we want to lerp between the value of 0 to a value of 90. And we're going to plug this in over here. And what's going to drive this? So we got value 0. So it's 0 degrees, 90 degrees. And that's what's going to plug this into the transformation. And then we want to do that over the time. So the alpha here is the time. So over 1 second, go from this value to this value. If we were to do that and we press play, then what we should get now is the door opens. And we can say it opens in the wrong direction here. That's because I didn't set this to be negative 90, like this. And now when we walk up to the door, it opens up and we can walk through. So with that being said, that is how we can set up the on Event Begin overlap. If you like this tutorial, you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it's going to help me keep motivated to continue to make these videos. And until next time, thank you for watching, and bye-bye.